All right, thank you. Hey guys. Unfortunately, you'll get to see my ugly mug as we push DEAMS out across the Air Force. Actually, I'll be leaving here in 30 days to head to the Pentagon to actually do installs at your bases. So, in advance, I apologize. That said, he is 100% right. DEAMS is the new system. It's the way we're going. It's a little bit different than what you're used to for legacy. So those of you who've been around more than about a year and a half, this is going to be a fundamental change for you. Everyone else, it's actually not such a bad deal. And even for the new folks, it's actually not that big of a problem either. Today we'll talk a little bit. I'll just gloss over some of the stuff. Actually, show of hands, did you guys actually listen in on the CE DCO we did for the Air Force at all?
You got 2 hands raised out of the 30+ people here.
Okay, well then we won't speed through exactly super fast, but we'll move pretty quick so you can actually see DEAMS live. I actually have one of my experts here, Sergeant Klahesi, and we'll give you a drive-through tour of what the DEAMS environment looks like for you. Basically, what is it? There you go. There's the official textbook answer for anyone who's taking the quiz later. Basically what it is it takes 89 of our individual subset systems and kind of mucks them all together and gets that number down to about 18. It's going to be your BQ, it'll be your ABSS, it'll be your IAPS, it'll be your CRIS, and those are some of the main systems that it takes over for. So you won't have a BQ site ID anymore. You won't even touch BQ. This is your BQ. Enjoy it. It is what it is. Some advantages for working in this, it's an all-in-one system. You don't have to log out of BQ and open up ABSS, then go into CRIS, then go to EIM and WAF and all that. It's all right there for you, so it's nice. There you go. You're good set. You can work from home if you have a CAC reader. And I know everyone, by the look on your faces, you all want to go work from home. That's a joke, everybody. Wow. But it does come in handy in like a snowstorm. Here at Scott, we actually had 14 inches of snow and sub-freezing temperatures in the -30s. The space was not designed for that. Basically, we didn't have to bring guys out on the roads when it was dangerous to get Form 9s and stuff pushed through, so we get contractors working on fixing roofs and busted pipes. They were able to do that all from home, which is actually kind of a nice in the middle of an emergency. You can keep your bunny slippers on and your pajamas and just work from home if you have to. It also opens up the opportunity for the civilians to do a work from home. Some of our guys take advantage of that. A couple of our guys live about 30 to 45 minutes away, so we've arranged telework opportunities for them, and DEAMS allows for that, which is nice. It's a real-time funds check. As I said, it's your BQ and it's your ABSS, so if there's no money in the pot, your document won't be certified. That said, there are still ways to get around that. If you underfund your morgue and a bill comes in, it'll throw you into the negative, but it's a very limited pool that'll do that for you. You don't get CSR management notices anymore. There's no more D&O out of balance, so the MAGCOM won't be yelling at you. It also has a reduced training time. For all the old schoolers, and I'll put myself in that category at 15 years, when we learned BQ, you had that shorthand code you had to learn to do target loads and everything. DEAMS doesn't need that. DEAMS uses drop-down menus and actual words, so you can find the words and the squadrons and the units that you're looking for, which is a nice feature. It does help our training time for the new folks. For the older folks, you're so ingrained and used to doing the shorthand code. It does take a little bit of time to adjust to that, but the guys adjust pretty quickly. Some of the guys, I rock about 140 years worth of budget experience before you get to me or the budget officer in our FMA shop. In fact, one of the ladies, Miss Wood's, been there since I was 4. And she has adapted to DEAMS quite nicely, and she picked it up. It also has improved auditability. All of your documents and everything associated with it are going to be in here. Kind of like the way DTS operates. All of your travel history is in there. Same thing with all your document history, which is great for audit compliance. Now for the disadvantages. It's a single point system. If it goes down, you're done for the day. There's no way around it. You can't push an ABSS document. You can't do your status of funds. You can't do anything. You're kind of tapped out for the day. You have to go old school, and old school is really old school, where you actually type up the Form 9 manually in form flow, and you walk it over to contracting. And then when the system comes back up, you just input it through DEAMS and press ahead. System downtime, like I said, no system, no work. It's not as flexible to changes, and this is very important for the FMA folks out there. You need to have a plan and understand your plan. You cannot make mass movements of like travel vouchers, for example. If you forgot to put a ESP code on your deployment orders, and the whole slew of guys, 100, 200 of them, walked out the door with the wrong fund site, you can't just do one mass JV to fix that. You're going to have to do each one individually. And again, that gets right back to that fire and audit compliance piece. So it's not very flexible to changes. If you change your funding stream, for example, if you go from direct funding to reimbursable funding, that took us almost 8 months to get all the documents from the first quarter when the command switched our funding stream. So bear in mind, it's very good. It does what it does very well, but it's not very flexible. And then the most important thing, it's still a maturing system. Currently, it's only at 6 bases in the Air Force. All of them are in Air Mobility Command, and there's only 2 that have been on there more than a year, and that's ourselves and McConnell. We, of course, have been in on it for 6 years now as the test bed. It's still maturing. There's some things that we do here at Scott that some of the smaller bases will never, ever do, and there's some stuff that you may do at your base that all the other bases will never see. So all I ask is when you get it and you start working it, if something comes up, it's very important for you to use the DEAMS advocacy channels through the DCOs and the telecons and the help desk tickets to bring those concerns and issues forward, because it may not have been something that the programmers even thought of. And we can get that fixed. We just need to know what it is. So suffering in silence doesn't fix the system. So again, tips for making your your transitions in your offices. Embrace that you're changing. The DEAMS train has left the station, as I've been told numerous times. Legacy will not be around forever. It's not audit compliant. Learn to adjust to that. How and why we do things, they're pretty much the same. The terms and the flows, that's what's going to be a little different for you. I mean, we still do a Form 9 to buy stuff. You still use a 4009 to load your GPC. 1351 is still a travel document. Those things don't change. Your MORD's a MORD, a MIPR's a MIPR. How you load them and how you get to them are a little bit different. But other than that, they're good. The biggest change that you'll have going into the DEAMS environment, EECs are no more. We're going object class. So anyone who's worked with the Army a little bit, this will be familiar to you. We're using object classes and sub-object classes. I would love to tell you that there's a correlation, but I'd be lying to you. However, there's a wonderful 14-page cheat sheet of all the object classes and what they're used for. So there also is no more TOA. Before in the Legacy, you could stack your direct and your reimbursable on top of each other and just work bottom line. You can't do that in DEAMS. Direct is direct and reimbursable is reimbursable. And that goes also back to the audit compliance piece. Basically, reimbursable money is money you're getting from other people. So you should be able to identify what work you've done for those people that they're paying for. So hence left seat, right seat. And you can actually stack them up. Again, that can cause some unique challenges. Another area that we're working on right now to fix is the legacy, some of our older legacy systems, DTS, the GPC programs, supply and fuel, don't always recognize the reimbursable lines of accounting in DEAMS and turn them to direct lines of accounting, which puts a little bit of an extra workload on your budget office to catch those before they pay out and switch them back to reimbursable. The heaviest area will be on the travel side for those of you that use reimbursable budgets. And that's primarily Air Mobility Command for anyone else that's still in Air Mobility Command. Anybody? Raise your hand. Okay, so if you're not using reimbursable, it won't be a big issue, but if you are, just be aware of that because that can be time consuming. Again, we identified that to the help desk and through the boards, and they're actually working on a program fix to address that. The DEAMS wasn't catching the sales codes on that one, so we're fixing that. Start your training early. There'll be a slide here shortly that walks you through all the training that you could ever possibly want to do. We kind of picked out the best of the best as far as what you absolutely had to have to get going. They're on the FMDLCS training. Once you're out there, get your access to DEAMS right away. They have what's called the sandbox, where you can actually practice on dummy documents and get familiar with the system before the trainers actually show up. It'll actually speed your process along if you can get your CBTs done before we show up on the ground. It just makes things a lot easier for everybody. Again, like I said, have a plan and stick to it. There are wonderful training aids out there. There's an 896-page book that'll walk you through color illustrated on everything you'd ever possibly want to do in DEAMS. I only ask one thing. They use Scott as a test bed, so all the documents have our lines of accounting. Please don't use those. It really gets our chief accountant all edgy when you guys use our numbers for stuff. And again, like I said, DEAMS is more fire compliant than Legacy. And remember, it's still a maturing system. Here's that training I talked about. The top link here is where all the job aids are. Again, color illustrated. Excuse me, color illustrated, very nice. You can pretty much, even I can sit there and follow through it, and if I can do it, anybody can. For the FMA guys, we lined up a whole set here on how to basically navigate Oracle, the SFIS accounting system, how to do budget analysts work, then follow-on training on how to do approvals, budget stuff, etc. And then just not to leave the resource advisors out of the loop, we have some training for them as well, along with follow-on refresher training. I would also recommend, if you're not familiar with it now, get familiar with MS Office products, Excel, Access, Word, PowerPoint. The DEAMS reporting tool is the biggest problem with DEAMS right now. It's been the biggest problem for 6 years running, and I'm pretty sure it's going to win the title again here in year 7. You really need to pull that data. You can't really manipulate the data inside the viewer. You have to export it into something else. And I'd really recommend that Excel Access is going to help you out quite a bit. Does anyone use like database tools like VBA's, Ed Fritz's Texel type stuff? Anybody? Show of hands? Bueller? Okay. Yeah, his type of stuff, that's the kind of stuff you need to be learning. And again, it'll make your life a lot easier because you really can't manipulate it inside the current reporting tool as it exists today. That said, that's also an identified problem that they're working on, and there should be a new OBIE coming in the fall that's supposedly going to give you more of a Chris-like feel. Does anyone have any questions? Real quick.
I got one question, sir.
Before we go to the demo? Okay. Yep, fire away.
Documents that have already been established, they won't be in DEAMS, so we'll still have to.
Can you speak up a little bit louder, please?
She's asking about documents that have already been established that were not loaded in DEAMS.
They won't be loaded, correct? We'll have to still use BQ and IABS.
She says that we're still going to have to use IABS, BQ, and the others until they flow.
Yes, you will. When you go in, basically when you do the transition to DEAMS, you're going to get a clean break. So anything that was in Legacy prior to going to DEAMS will remain there, and then anything going forward will be in DEAMS. Most bases up to this point, with the exception of the guys going next week, have all had the luxury of starting at the beginning of a fiscal year. One of the tricks that we recommended to those bases was to do your initial FY pre-planning documents and your initial 1 October contracts in the Legacy system and get them out the door that way, and then start with DEAMS on the 5th of October. That way you had time to get your big stuff out the way and then start slowly. Think of it like a kiddie pool where it's got that zero. You just kind of walk your way in, then you get your toes wet, and then you get a little further, you get your ankle wet, then you're up to your knees, and eventually you're up to your waist. That's been our recommendation going forward, and that's been the easiest for everybody. You will still have your Legacy systems clearing up the old books. So the sooner you clear the old books, the sooner you can get rid of the legacy altogether. They did that when they converted us 6 years ago. They just converted all of our data from BQ to DEAMS, and it was just a holy nightmare. In fact, even to this day, we still have problems closing out the canceling years just because we can't. The data was so messed up coming in on the crossover. So they don't do that anymore. They let you keep your legacy and operate that way until you cycle them out going forward. So depending on what time of the year you get the system, I would just draw a line in the sand. Anything prior to that, you're in legacy, finish it out. Anything forward, put it in DEAMS.
Yes, sir. One more question?
Does that answer the question?
After, like, it's in the canceled years, normally the RCCCs kind of roll up into kind of just canceled RCCCs. Does DEAMS keep those separated out? Yeah.
Yeah, DEAMS will keep everything separated out for you coming down the pike. It's one of those audit compliance things.
One more question?
What was the site where you can go and do the training?
It's on the slides. I'll give those to you later.
Okay, yeah, it's all on the slides there. Again, the cheat sheet aids are great. Just bear in mind, again, that our fun sites are what's on there, so don't follow them exactly. One of the problems with DEAMS that we've identified also is that you can see everybody. So using your drop-down menu, you can actually build a line of accounting to build a B-1 squadron at Andrews Air Force Base using Army money in a prior year. Those things don't exist at Andrews Air Force Base. I think the last time we had the DEAMS team in here, we actually built a line for the Pony Express. So you can see, you can go in there right now and you can see McConnell, you can see Army, you can see Scott, so you have full access. The argument is in Legacy you had that same ability, you just had to know the 5-digit codes. Here you can just use the drop-down menus. I've asked them to put in a kind of a waterfall, so if you're at McConnell, all you're going to see is McConnell. If you're at Charleston, that's all you see is Charleston. You shouldn't have access to the whole universe. Again, just from a command and control standpoint, it's just bad juju.
I think that's all we had for questions for now, sir.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll have Sergeant Classy sit down and we'll run you through the, so you guys can see some stuff. Again, one of the problems with DEAMS is when it's down, it's down. We've had a problem the last couple days getting, with it being up and down a lot for, so we couldn't get things certified. So hopefully there's some stuff in the queue here. So I'll turn it over to Sergeant Classy and let him oracle away.
You've got to stay on the left screen.
Hello all, Tech Sergeant Close here. Before I begin the walkthrough, if you have any questions through any of this, please feel free to just call it out and let me know. I'll have the screen that I can see you guys covered up, so I won't see hands or anything like that. So please let me know if you have any questions or if there are any specifics that you'd like to see. I'm just going to take you through a brief walkthrough of running reports, certifying a couple of documents, and the basic steps where you're going to input different items. So like I said, if there are any items that you want to see specifically or if you have any questions, please call out your targets and I'll address. And with no further ado.
Now can you guys see the oracle screen?
I'll put you on full screen. And then if you could zoom in just a little bit, that would help.
Okay.
You just hit Control and scroll forward on your mouse. That'll do the same thing.
How's that looking for you? Okay. What we've got here is once you get into the DEAMS system, this is what you'll be looking at as far as your queue. We'll go right into the home page so we can see it from the beginning to the document. When you log in, this is what you'll see. These down here in the bottom left corner, these are all the items that you have available under your profile to affect. Up here at the top, this is where you'll find any awaiting documents. So when we come in, we'll just jump into the full list, and this will show us everything. So we want to narrow this down to see what's actually out there waiting for us to affect. And these are all the documents that the profile for the commander has to affect. So we'll just pick one out here at random and go ahead through the certification process. Looks like OSI's got one ready to go. And it looks like he needs one more name, so we're actually going to pick somebody else's so I can get on him a little bit later. So we'll go with NJ, 65NJ, our echo band here. And
what he was talking about with that is there's a 2-tier requirement. You can't input and approve your own document. It requires 2 people to do that. So he was missing signatures, so that's why we skipped over. It's one of those auditable nice features. You can't push something through yourself anymore.
Right, you need a lot more hands in the process because we do have the ability, because of the level that I'm at as both a group resource advisor and budget analyst, I can take a document from cradle to grave and only need a certifier on the end of it, and they want to get away from that, so we actually require multiple signatures on here. So I'm going to address that document after we get done. But what we're looking at here is all the details of the document. Up here you've got basic description, and then it defines each line item that's been input. Like you said, this is a very easy process to take care of once you actually get into the document because it's not as convoluted as it had been in Legacy. So you're literally just going through and putting in the drop downs each line what you need as far as each item's cost, quantity, and everything associated with it. So it's actually relatively quick to input a document now. So we take a look at what we've got here. We make sure that contracting is given the thumbs up, and then we continue on through. We're going to take a look at the actual details of the requisition to ensure that they've input the line of accounting and everything correctly. And this is the first major screen that you'll get to. This shows us all the different line of accountings on a basic one-line item. Down here where you show the charge account, this will actually show the entire line of accounting, the SFIS as it's called in DEAMS now. But because this one has multiple lines, we'll just have to select so that we can verify. And now this will show you the line of accounting for each line item that's been input. And on this screen, this will actually give you the ability to real-time check the funds to ensure that they have funds available at their program. And there we go. We've got successful funds check. You actually have three passes here. When you do a funds check, you can either be successful, you'll have warnings, or you'll fail. Success and warnings are both fine. Warning just means you're getting close. Fail means it's going to have to go back to the originator and they're going to have to find some more cash. Once we've verified the line of accounting and the details on these are correct, we're going to go back to the original screen and verify the other 2 screens and then be done with it.
Yeah, one other change, when we were looking at that line of accounting, all the parts and pieces are there from Legacy. They just group them a little differently, and they call them PATEOs. I will tell you, it is easier to get a PATEO built for a line of accounting than it was to get a PSR and an FSR built through DFAS in the Legacy side. So that's a nice bonus feature as well.
That's correct. The PATEO is the basic breakup of the line of accounting, and that's the project, the task, the expenditure item, and then the organization. And then what it does once you've input those, it creates the SFIS, which is the long hyperlink right here. That's the standard, I just forgot what SFIS stands for, but that's the Legacy line of accounting. So once you've populated the PATEO, then it gives you the rest. And the PATEO is very easy to decipher. And then we pop on through here to screen 3. And this is where the input actually gets very nice as opposed to Legacy. Once you get into a document to do it, you'll see right up here it says Form Type 448. The first 2 screens on all of the documents are all the same, but once you get in here to page 3, you'll actually define what form it is you're inputting. So if you input a 4009 versus a 448 or Form 9, it'll actually then tailor all of this to what it is that you need to input. So you don't have to try and figure out what fields may be required for what different documents. It actually will specifically show you only what you need to input. So inputting a document is actually very nice now compared to some of the documents in the past. We're going to go through this and make sure all of their information is correct and that it's being routed through the correct chains, and that it's not actually a planning document, so that needs to be done now. And then one of the items that actually is really nice as well are the header and footer information. Anybody that's done MIPers, these kind of forms, and had to populate all of the required information into the header and footer knows that, God, there's a lot to put in there. Luckily on these, all you've got to do is go down the drop-down listing and decide what it is that is applicable to what it is you're trying to input. So then you just go through, and if you need the ozone statement, you click on it, and it'll populate the ozone statement in here in the header, and you can do that in the footer as well. So there's a whole lot less typing and a whole lot more fun. And once we've gotten everything verified, everything looks good, then we go down here and click Submit. And we're back to getting a DEAMS error. This is what the commander was talking about a little bit ago. We've been having problems the last couple days with certifying documents. So we'll see if we can get around this.
And while he's doing that, again, just get back to the PTEO. It's really simple, like you said. You're really looking at which is your RCCC and your PEC and your BA. And there's a couple more things that go into it, but that's the basic gist. So your PTEO is things that you already know and use. It's just the structure's a little different.
And now we're back into it, and we're going to see if we can certify it again. Yeah, might let us go.
Again, as you can see from this is what we were talking about before. When it's working fine, it's smooth. When it slows down, that's when things start to fall apart on you.
And here's a better representation of the PTEO. You don't see it when you're in that original document screens. So up here on the top right, you'll see the PTEO as the project, task, expenditure, and organization. And those of you that have been on the budget side will be able to pick this apart pretty easily. You've got your OAC and OBAN, the fiscal year, direct, and then your PEC. And right here, that expenditure type, that's what he was talking about with the object class subclass. Now that's actually your EAT. And then here's your OAC, OBAN, and your RCCC. The only thing that's going to make no sense to you, and it's going to take a little bit of time to kind of figure out the deciphering of it, is the task. That's an amalgamation of the AG and SAG that you just have to know the specific breakdown of it and how it correlates. And once you kind of realize that, then it's easy to pick apart and create them from the legacy line of accounting in a crisp pull to find the AG-SAG. So I'm not even going to go through how to figure that out, but just know that once you get into building the PTEOs, it'll make more sense, I promise. And that one is now certified. Essentially, all documents are approved and certified the same. In the FMA office, you'll have to both budget review and certify documents. Both of those functions are done exactly the same in the system, so it's easy to have good continuity with how you do what you do. It's very important to do everything the same way every time so that you're looking at the correct parts of the document and you don't just go willy-nilly into it and miss things. So just make sure that as you're processing and as your technicians are processing, they just have a good, solid foundation of doing everything the same way and making sure that their attention to detail is on it, because like the Commander said, you have the ability to do a lot more than any of us should ever have the ability to do in DEAMS. So it's very easy to certify something for another base or another function that we have no reason to touch. I sure can. We'll go through building a document right now. Essentially, when the biggest screen that you're going to be in at any one time, down here on the bottom left, you're going to see iProcurement. That's essentially your baseline, and some people have that set up as their home because that's where you'll do the most of your function at. So you're going to click on the iProcurement. Does anybody have any questions while we're waiting for this to load?
Yes, there's one question from Captain Chula.
Yeah, I have one question. So as far like the previous example that you had, that for the MIPR, so the different like comments and stuff that contracting likes to see on there, are those just you just put those like in the notes, the document?
Yes, you'll put them in the notes. You have the ability to attach files on there. So you'll attach the statement of work, any specifics that you need attached with it. Everything that contracting needs can either be put in the notes or in the attachments. And there are several sections for notes, so they have more than enough room and flexibility to appease contracting with whatever it is they're looking for.
Yeah, on a side note with that, one of the things you will have to do is every now and again they run an Oracle patch, or the comm group will run some sort of Air Force-wide system patch, and that usually ends up breaking the connection with some of our legacy systems, in particular contracting's P2 suite. So basically what happens is if you notice there's not a lot of work going on over a day or so, you might want to call over to contracting and go, hey, we sent 4 or 5 documents over, what are you seeing? Usually when, like we do with every closeout, we'll send them over a list daily of what's out there that we've certified and is ready for them, just so we don't miss something. DEAMS has a wonderful, wonderful habit of running system upgrades on the first week of September, despite our best efforts to stop that. So just be aware that that could happen every now and again if they run a software patch or there's an upgrade somewhere, and it could end up disconnecting you from DTS or contracting or supply. It's usually a very quick fix, usually within a couple hours or a day they reestablish the connection, but if they don't know it's broken.
Right, and very important through July through October to ensure that all of your documents are getting through to contracting like they should. We have had issues in the past where contracting just hadn't received the documents, and if the analysts weren't watching what was going on and ensuring their programs were well taken care of, then those easily could have gone missed and then been SOL for closeout and just not been able to be executed. So it's important to watch as you come into closeout season, ensure that all your documents are flowing like they need to and everything is well taken care of. And here's the iProcurement that we were talking about. Essentially what iProcurement is it's got a couple of different sections here. The top section, My Requisitions, that's everything that you have done in the system in DEAMS ever. So any documents that you need to reference that you've done, you can click on the full list and you'll be able to find whatever it is you've input. Down here, the My Notifications, those are any items that require your attention. So that'll be anything that needs to be approved or certified by your either budget or certifier group. For inputting any type of new documents, we're going to click up here on the top on the New Catalog Request. And then this is where you'll input all of the baseline information as far as what it is that you're inputting. We'll just do a dummy one here real quick. And once you get into the actual items here, you'll notice there's some flashlights and search tools. The description, that'll be everything that you want to let contracting, let the budget office, let anybody that's going to have visibility of this document know. Should you be inputting a document that you don't know what it may be, what category it may fall under, you can click on the search and you can search for keywords. So if you had to do some type of a chapel item, you could always, and got to make sure you put description. I forget that all the time. And you click on go, nothing for chapel. So let's say, you do something for fuels. You can go through, you can search for any keywords you want to. The % is a wildcard in DEAMS, so you can use it before or after what it is you're looking for, and it'll prompt it to have anything before it or after it is wild. And you can go through all the items and look for what may be most applicable to what it is that you're doing. Once you've found what it is you're looking for, you'll just go ahead and quick select it, and it'll drop it down in here. This 99.99, you'll see that quite a bit. That's just the all others miscellaneous category. So you'll see quite a few items that have that 99.9 because they just don't fall under anything else. Quantity, let's say we'll do one unit of measure. Depending on what you're doing, contracting will let you know what this should be. It'll either be each, lot, whatever the unit of measure that best suits whatever it is you're doing. We'll just do each on this one. And the unit price, that's always going to be 1. It'll be generally $1. And then once you've got this taken care of, you'll add it to the cart. And like shopping on Amazon, then you'll view your cart and check out. And this will show you what your line item is going to look like. So it'll show you the full item description and everything associated with it. So you'll check out and enter your payment information. And this is that first screen that we got to with the Pateo and then the line of accounting on it. This is where you'll go through and input just all the applicable data for whatever it is, whatever program it is you're purchasing for. So we'll just pull in we'll pull in one for CPTS.
And he's going a little slower right now, describing this and walking through it. When they're not doing this, they can usually punk these out pretty fast. This is actually a nice feature of DEAMS. It does work faster. Again, you can work from home. Where you're going to find your biggest stalls and delays are when the system's down and in the reporting pieces. Pulling a report, depending on the size of your base, could take a while. Sometimes 10 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes a couple hours, sometimes it could be all day, depending on the size of your base.
Sir,
what
you
you're trying to do.
It sounds like DEAMS is operational at 6 AMC bases. Have they tested it on the acquisition side to interact with CCARs? So the question was, you tested this at AMC at 6 different bases. Has it been tested in any acquisition bases with CCARs?
No, not yet. In fact, the current deployment schedule for DEAMS is the rest of our mobility command comes on next week. At the moment, we're kind of the biggest guy in weight class on DEAMS right now as far as size of base. The guys coming on in June are your McDills, your Travis, your Charleston, your McGuire's, all the big guys for AMC, which will be a real test of whether the system can handle that many users and that much volume flow. If it's successful with that, starting in October, they'll be going to ACC, AETC, and Global Strike. I believe they are working on the CCARS bit, but I don't think it's ready yet, which is why we're not going to Materiel Command.
So CCARS will still be used with DEAMS?
Right. So CCARS, all CCARS is, well, there's a lot of things you can do, but as this is now functioning as CCARS is an interface for apps that can do a bunch of fancy forecasting.
I thought it was getting rid of it.
No, this doesn't have capability to do it.
Those are questions.
They're just having a discussion between the two of them about CCARS, apps, and the interface between the two.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what it sounded like, so I was just making sure.
Yeah, I know, like I said, they're very, they're Europe and the Pacific are not going right away either. And again, they've got stuff in production. They just haven't finished doing all the testing yet. DEAMS has gotten really, really good about not throwing junk out on the street, as opposed to when we first started. They weren't quite the best at it. And they would just kind of throw a product out there. So they're getting a lot better about not putting a product on the street that's not ready for prime time. So I'm pretty sure, again, I'm be there in 30 days, but I would, based on everything else, I would assume that they have a production team working with coders on how to fix that. And the help desk is actually at Right Pat. So, and all the programmers, I believe, a good hunk of them are over there as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're working on something at this particular juncture. And when I get out there, I'll be more than happy to check in on that and see what happens.
Okay, then once we get through, here's the potato information that we had talked about before. You're inputting who you are, what it is you're buying, and again, who you are. Then one of the good things is once you've got that information, you'll notice down here in the charge account, it just says enter charge account. You're going to click on the hyperlink, and that'll actually define the SFIS for you, the full line of accounting. Now it's taken your potato and it's turned it into the full SFIS. Then you'll be able to do a check funds and make sure that there's money tied to that account. And screen 2 is a section of notes that is optional, so you can input in there or not. It's up to you. That's where if you need more space to give information to the buyer, to contracting, to whoever it is you need to define, you can go ahead and use that. Then we're going to next on through. And this is where it'll better specify what it is you need to input. You'll notice right here that it's set up for a Form 9. Let's say I wanted this to be a 4009. I'll drop this down to 4009 and it'll adjust the screen for what I need for a 4009. So you'll notice that reduced it by quite a bit because the requirements are very, very small for the 4009. So then you'll go through and you'll put the, did you want me to actually put the routing for this or just kill it out? Okay. You'll input the routing information for who this needs to go through. You'll define the RA group and the certifier group and the budget review group. You can actually, on other types of forms, it isn't available on 4009s, but on all the other types of forms you can do an external approver as well, which is good for any items that need some type of a SME eyes on. If you've got some type of a comm issue for, say, the Wing Commander's conference room, and you need somebody from comm that's an expert in whatever it is you're doing, you can put them on the form as well, so that the Form 9 will go through that comm expert so that they can hack off on it and ensure that you've not missed anything that you may not even know you missed. So there are quite a few areas where it helps you out and kind of keeps you in the green.
Yeah, and this was actually a great opportunity because I don't know about you guys, but every base I've ever been to, the ABSS flows and all the other things seem to be completely out of touch with how reality is, or hey, why is this person in there, or why is this flow the way it is. This actually gives you the opportunity to hit reset and actually set it up the way it should be or the way it ought to be for today's business.
Right.
So it's a great opportunity, but again, you're going to need to plan that out in advance of the team showing up.
Yeah, it'll take a little while to get all your groups set up like they should be, but once you have everything set up like you need it to be, it's very easy to maintain it. DEAMS, for the most part, is relatively responsive with moving people around in the groups and a lot of requests down at this level. So there are quite a few things that you'll be able to keep these living lists going like you need to. Then once you get through here, you're just going to submit it, and that'll input it into the queue for the next round of approvals and then the certification. This is as far as we're going to go with it. So I'm going to back out of this, and then I'll show you how to pull a report or two.
Are we getting close on your time?
We've got 10 minutes, sir.
Hey, Cam, I have a question.
All right, you guys, we need to show you how to pull a report real quick, or we can answer some more questions.
We got one question, and you can pull the report while we're asking the question.
Yeah, I think mine's a pretty simple question. Will states have an OPR to allow their analysts to have permissions to change the flows? And initially, if you have a new analyst, is it 2875 to set it up, and where does that 2875 go to?
Could you guys hear that question?
It was real
You
faint.
have to sound off, or do you want me to summarize that question? Because that was a pretty good question.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, summarize it for me now. That's fine.
Okay, one question. 2875
Yeah, just summarize it.
in order to get access to the system.
One more time, sir, please.
It's about 2875 flow, right?
Yeah, it was the 2875. Where does it go to get access? How long does it take? And who authorizes the different levels of permission levels that you're authorized to have?
Okay, once you do the 2875s, you'll actually get those from the folks at DEAMS. They've got a new one that they just set up the last couple of months. You'll provide that to WritePat, the folks at DEAMS up at WritePat, and then they'll get you set up with, or they'll get the users set up with their access and the levels of functionality that they've defined on the 2875. On the DEAMS 2875, it actually goes through and you have to define what it is that you need.
Yeah, and for like all the budget analysts, the budget officer is their approver and set up, and then it still goes to the unit security manager to sign off like any other 2875. Then it'll go to DEAMS. They'll establish it. I sign off on the budget officer, etc. That said, it took, because, oh yeah, here's another thing. If you're not in DEAMS every 30 days or so, it has a tendency to kick you out and you have to reset. I had to do that the other day. It literally took less than like 3 hours to get one through, and they seem fairly responsive with new users on that as well. So that's a normal turn time for them. Within a day, I would say. Same thing with Pateo builds. They usually take about a day or less.
Right. With new users, give it up to a week, but they've been pretty decently quick with turning them around. Account resets, like you said, yeah, they're fast. Some of that other stuff, they're actually moving relatively quickly on. Now that they've got everybody co-located out at WritePat, it's relatively easy to get some of that stuff done. And they do have a template that they'll provide to you, and we can always shoot it to whoever needs it. So if you guys are pulling up on DEAMS coming up here, like Commander said before, use the channels that we all have available. There's 6 of us on it right now, so ping us if there's ever anything that y'all need.
Yeah, and again, like I said, use your other bases that have come before you. We've built several tire factories here at Scott, and McConnell Fine Stuff, and et cetera, right on down the line. And that's what we told all the bases that are getting ready to come on next. I mean, don't suffer when we can help you out. We may have an Excel tool that we've already built, or we may have a workaround, or we may have found a faster way that we'll be more than happy to share. Just have to ask for it. Or, hey, have you ever seen this? Because there's some stuff at Dover when they came on last year, or a year and a half ago, last year actually, that we had never seen before here at Scott. and it was actually kind of cool. We were able to, between the two bases, able to hash out a procedure that's now Air Force wide as far as how to use that. So.
Right. So make sure you're talking to all your friends. All the FMA offices have all been working together really well to get DEAMS where it needs to be, and we're going to continue to. It's not where it needs to be yet, but we're going to continue to push it to be where it needs to. And they've been very good at allowing us to push them, sometimes harder than others.
Yeah, and talking with the ATC, apparently this DEAMS will actually be added into the schoolhouse for the enlisted folks. I'm not sure if it's going to be at the basic school or at the 7-level school, but I know they were talking about adding it in. I'm not sure if they're going to put it in on the BFMOC or not. I have asked AFPC if they'll just give me every new inbound for the Air Force, and they laughed. But as soon as we get DEAMS qualified people, we will ship them out, and then as DEAMS gets to more bases, you'll have more people trained faster. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the last couple minutes, we'll just run a real fast report. The screen that we just jumped into, it's called the Discover Viewer. This is where you're going to run any type of report that you need, or most types of reports that you need from DEAMS. It's got a good search functionality to it, and there's a bazillion different reports in here. They are very good about creating reports when the need arises. So there may actually be multiple reports for the same function.
That's the thing with the Discover Viewer. It's not like Chris. You can't a la carte it. You can't design what you want. You have to go with what's on the menu. And again, like you said, they create reports upon request. So what started out with 20 reports is now 300 reports. So new users coming on tend to get very frustrated because they grab what they think is the right status of funds, and it may be a customized status of funds looking at a very particular thing at Dover Air Force Base, and they get very frustrated by it. So that's one of the things that they're working on with the OBIEE, which will replace Discover Viewer. It'll be more Chris-like, from what I'm told. Haven't had a chance to work with it yet, but if I'm told, it'll be more Chris-like, and you'll actually be able to build what you want to build to see what you need to see. So we're waiting for that, but for right now, it is straight off the menu. There is no adjustments or changes.
Right, and some of the reports, this is where you'll end up losing a lot of your time. There's a lot of reports that take quite a bit of time to do. If you're working on voucher balancing, that voucher balancing report out of here can take you an estimated 43 minutes. It took it today when I ran it this morning. So I'm just going to run a quick certifier report. This is one that we had them create so that we could track our users and technicians. Comes in very, very handy during report and 1206 writing time. And just to make sure that your folks are as productive as you need them to be. So you can just go in here and you click on your certifier summary, and this will show you everything that, maybe not today, this will show you that everything that you're looking for an individual and what they've done in any time period as far as certification goes.
Yeah. Now, when the status of funds actually works very well. It's very accurate, coming through the pipes, both on the direct and the reimbursable side. Selective transaction history is still a little bit elusive, and the ODL is not more than maybe 50% accurate at the moment. That's not to say the information in it is bad. It's just the way the SFIS accounting system works. It works different than Legacy. So you'll actually see more transactions and what they consider an open document. For example, the Civ Pay, until DFAS finishes paying out the payroll, it's still sitting there as an open document, even though you and I wouldn't really care about that from an ODL standpoint, trying to run the day-to-day business of the wing. So they're working on some of those right now to fix them. Again, I think OBIE is probably where you're going to see most of that. But again, they send teams down here all the time to look at the reporting. And again, like I said, 6 years running, and it's a strong contender for year 7 to be the #1 issue with DEAMS right now amongst users.
And like we said, this is where you'll end up burning a lot of your time. Sometimes it doesn't take as long as it estimates, but you'll get some reports, like if you do an ODL or some of these, that it could have an estimated time of over an hour. So we're just going to run this real fast one because I know it runs really quickly. This is actually the longest I've ever seen it take. Generally, this report comes out in a matter of seconds. And it's a good one, like I said, for 1206 time, EPR time, or just checking on the productivity of your technicians. Not only will it define how much, I'm pointing at the screen like you guys can see me. Not only will it define how much you have certified in a given time period, but it'll then define what types of forms you've affected in that time period, and the number of each of the documents. So this is a good way to just go through and touch base and check on your folks. Good NCUIC and OIC tool, make sure everybody's tracking like you need them to. And like we said, a lot of your reports are going to be run out of here in Discover Reviewer, so you can search for whatever it is that you're looking for, whether you're trying for voucher balancing, ODL, whatever it is you're trying to look for, you can search and see if it's there. And like Commander said, they create reports as they're requested. So if you have something like this one, we specifically requested this report to help us out during report time. If you have something that you'd like to see, let them know, and they'll help you build and design something that can better suit what it is you're trying to do. Do any of you have any questions on pulling reports or anything up to this point? I know we're running towards the end, and I want to go ahead and get you guys cut off as quickly as you need to.
It's possible to run reports at the same time that in a separate window or a separate part of the same system under your same profile, you're able to go through and certify documents. Are you able to do two things at once in the same system under the same profile?
You sure can. This is one of the areas that it definitely allows you to multitask, because when you get into Discover Reviewer, this is actually a separate area in DEAMS, and once you get into Discover Reviewer, you can't actually get back into the other section of DEAMS for certification from this window. So once you open this window, you have to open a new iteration of DEAMS to allow you to process, but they can be run concurrently. So a lot of times you'll open it up and start your report and then just keep on plugging with whatever documents you've got to either create, input, or approve, and keep on running with it and just keep checking back on the status of the reports.
Now you can run your CRIS report still, same as always, using CRIS, but you have to be mindful of the fact that DEAMS does not interface regularly with CRIS. I think they're maybe like once every couple of days now. So just kind of bear that in mind. Also, bear in mind that on, like with DTS, for example, until more than half the Air Force is on DEAMS, it has all DEAMS transactions for coming from DTS go through the by others process, which means it's going to take a little while for them to upload it into the system. And the reason for that is DTS can only flash load to one system. So obviously until you have most of the Air Force on legacy, that's where it's going to go automatically. Once you get more than 50%, they'll switch the line and they'll move it so that DEAMS gets the automatic feed. But that can slow down your ODL process a little bit, especially for your outstanding orders in the GU. There is a wonderful guide that we helped build here. Again, color illustrated is the way to go. That'll show you how to do that. But it does take a lot of interactive and proactive approach on your FMA shop to make sure that your ODL is clean. We've seen the other bases that have come online have watched their GU go from 2% to 17% almost within a month. And it's taken them a while to chug that back down. A couple of the bases that have come on recently have figured it out, and now they're back down into the 3s and 4s again. But if you're not paying attention, that one will jump up and bite you, especially if your command does metrics like AMC does, and they want to know about the outstanding orders in the GU.
Are any of these folks AMC, or are they all outside? Okay. Any of you in AMC that are coming on to DEAMS very shortly?
We got no speakers.
No? Okay. Then hopefully they'll work through some of the issues that they're working through now before you all get on it.
Okay. Anyone have any one last questions before we cut off? Or?
2 questions. Go ahead.
Are you able to set up your reports to automatically push to your email at regular intervals?
Not that I've seen. You got to go through and manually prompt each of the reports, and then once you run it, you have the ability to export it however you'd like, and I can show you the item or options that you have to export if you'd like.
Yeah, no, it doesn't give you that same crisp function where you can have it auto run for you in the background and be waiting for you in the morning, unfortunately. We're kind of hoping OBIE has some of those capabilities. So far, every user forum, when it comes to the discussion of the reports, always comes back to we want it to be just like CRIS, and have that same capability. So we've been told OBIE has that capability and that function, and it's Oracle compliant. So we'll see how that works. Again, it's the #1 thing on my to-do list in 30 days is to figure out where we're at with that.
At AFM,
what's the next one?
base, but we have tenants from like Space Command, and how would we be certifying their documents? Would we have to have DEAMS and wait for AFMC to come, or?
So the question was from someone who has tenant units from different commands. The question is, how would they serve their tenant units? Utilizing DEAMS and the other systems?
Again, they haven't worked out the material pieces yet, but for here at Scott, all of your tenants, they use DEAMS. Every single one of them, with the exception of one of our guard units, and somehow they just got missed when the mailman came by because they're supposed to be on DEAMS now, but somehow they kind of slipped through the cracks all those years ago and no one ever brought them back on. But yeah, if you have a tenant on the base, they're going to use DEAMS. We have US Transcom, AFNIC, DISA, DITCO, Air Force Audit Agency headquarters is here. All these, we have all the major tenants, and every single one of them uses DEAMS. Another thing that the problem you're going to run into is sometimes with the headquarters, they've been not as fast to adopt DEAMS as the bases have. So you'll find your funds control will still try to talk to you in RCCC and EEC. And we're like, well, that's great and all, but I work on object class, so we just kind of send the doc back and go, hey, can you please redefine what you're looking for, because I don't have that. Or they may run a CRIS report trying to figure out your metrics, and it's not current data. And that's usually just a phone call between the two of us, and we'll square that away. But yeah, all of our major tenants here on the base use DEAMS.
Before AFMC does, how are they going to, how would we certify their documents? Because they're going to be getting their money through DEAMS, I would think, or how would that work?
So the question is,
well, your funding documents flow the same always, and we just load them into DEAMS versus loading them into BQ. There really is no difference there. We actually have AFNIC from Space Command on our base, and they operate quite nicely. There is a little bit of an issue where they can't see, AppSpace can't really see what AFNIC's doing sometimes because they're looking in the legacy systems as opposed to DEAMS, but we help them out with the reporting on that and keep tabs on them. So it's worked out quite nicely here. We haven't had any problems with it to date.
well, we definitely appreciate you guys taking time out of your very busy day